Tony Hawkins has got a podcast. I hope he's better at this than he is washing the kit because he was fucking useless.
29.
29, Tony. I can't believe I've done 29
Which
episodes
is?
of this. Oh, it's a prime number.
It's a prime number. You're learning stuff, mate. You're learning. Excellent. It's a good prime number as well.
I'm pleased with it. What does it do, Tone?
That
other ones don't.
It just sticks out for me, you know, in a sea of.
As a connoisseur of prime numbers, Tony, which you are, as our listeners can no doubt attest to.
So the 29, we have one game to talk about.
Two
games to talk about.
Two games to talk about, Tony. I see you've not got any better since last week.
No, exactly.
Bolton and Portsmouth, Tony.
Who in Portsmouth?
Bolton.
I remember that one.
Them?
Yeah.
Saturday,
Going
Tony.
down.
Afternoon it was.
Yeah.
Kicked off at 3 o'clock.
We've also got a special guest.
We have, I'm chuffed to bits.
We've got the one and only Mr. Milton Keynes.
Mr.
The
Milton
proper
Keynes.
Mr. Milton Keynes, by the way. Not one of these fake ones like Winkleman.
Oh, steady on. Steady on.
So Lee's here to talk football. Milton Keynes.
You got to give him his full title.
Whatever you want, yeah.
What? Lee Scriven?
I have no title.
Yeah.
Man without a title.
Man without a title, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, we'll be talking about that and he'll be joining in. Well, shall we start with Bolton then?
Might as well.
Get stuck in. 1-0.
Right.
Not a lot more happened. Possibly one of the worst first halves I've seen.
It was
quite a
poor
while.
first half.
And we've seen a few.
Be fair, Bolton. I think you've got to be fair to Bolton on that. I think they came out, they surprised me, and I think they surprised the Dons.
They certainly didn't.
They didn't look like a team that's resting on holding up the rest of the division. And I thought they came out. I thought their shape was really good, and they worked hard. And fair play to them.
Before the game, if you're in their position, you might as well lose 4-0, 5-0.
Yeah,
well, they're going down, aren't they?
They're going down.
They are going down.
There's no way they're staying up. Even with their points deduction added back on, they'd still be.
I was written that down. Would they still go in? Would they still be in the relegation
zone?
Yeah.
And comfortably in the relegation zone? Yeah. So
I did think, to be quite honest, even though you've said they were right, I thought they were a very poor team.
Well, when they
didn't.
I felt a little bit sorry for them because they're clearly lacking in many different areas. But it's not for a lack of effort. I thought they were.
Well, what I meant by that was, how many times have we seen teams that are struggling just come and park the bus?
Yeah.
And just just try and nick free kicks or dead ball situations and try and get out the door with a point. Whereas I suppose because of the position they're in, they might as well just come out and try and enjoy their football and give the crowd. So that's what I meant by it. Yeah, they're not a Peterborough or a Sunderland's or whatever. But I was surprised that I was surprised they just didn't come and park the bus.
Yes, and if you're thinking from a selfish point of view as a player, you're in a shop window somewhat.
You are, because whatever
if you're
happens,
going down to League 2, wages are going to go down.
That team, when they go down, that won't be the team that starts, for them, next season, definitely.
I think they'll have to become a League 2 club and basically start all over again.
Back up.
They can't.
Well, they're just lucky to be alive. They're grateful. I should say, not lucky. They're grateful to be alive. Yeah, aren't they? Considering what happened to another football club in that region, you'd just be grateful as a fan, and there's anything to do with the club that they're still there, aren't they?
Yeah, we did say on this that that the EFL made an example of Bury at the expense of them. To be quite honest, we keep them up, keep Bolton up because they're a bigger team, and just think like Bury, don't do that or you'll end up like this. That's just our theory. We could be wrong.
That was being touted around quite a lot at the time, and again, we've said it before, a lot of people forget about Mansfield, which could have been us. Because if we hadn't beaten Mansfield on the last day of the season and got promoted, the team that stayed down in League 2 at the expense of Bury would have been us. So,
but it wasn't so.
No, it wasn't, and they're still here, and we beat them finally.
That Ben Reeves started, that's odd.
Ben Reeves started. I wasn't particularly
enthusiastic,
impressed by his display, and I don't say that very often, only because we know what he's capable of. I don't think he had. Obviously, he hasn't played for a while, and he certainly hasn't started a match.
I thought it was a bit odd. When did he get subbed?
After an hour, was it?
Was it about that? Not half time, no.
Not half time.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? Because you say we all know what Ben Reeves could do, and you just hope that Ben Reeves could have a run in the team, and then I think we'd see what he can do. But unfortunate,
yeah, he was. I don't know. I know. I've said it before about him. He does try too hard sometimes, especially if he's been out injured. But he didn't do his usual sideways shuffle to try and get the angle for the 30-yard curler. He did a lot of running,
I like him because he runs forward.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players who run sideways and backwards.
Yeah, he's always got his
Ben
head up.
Reeves picks the ball up, he spins and he comes forward. I know that from the photography side of my life, as in he's facing me most times. But some of the players,
yeah.
I've got thousands of pictures of the back of their heads. Which is that's part of the game. But that's why I like Ben Reeves, and I think that's why the chairman likes him. And I think that's why the fans like him. That he does want to get forward.
Yeah. And he's one of those players that's capable of pulling a goal out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If he's done nothing for me that time when he looked backwards when he made that pass at Man United.
You do like that.
I do like
you
that.
do like that.
I've watched that so many times. I love that. Just for that, he can do whatever he likes.
Legend, he is.
But it was an odd. I was surprised to see him start, I must admit, and everyone that I spoke to was as well.
Well, I would imagine
it was the main talking point.
I would imagine there was a reason for it. Managers play players in certain games, so it wouldn't have been just because he's fit or something like that. There would have been a very good reason.
Yeah,
well, I do wonder that they may have. I have no inside knowledge on this at all.
Yeah.
As in, I wonder if they felt their analysts and perhaps Russell were thinking like I was thinking that they were going to come and park the bus.
Yeah.
And if a team does that, you need someone like Ben Reeves who has got more creativity in his locker than most, who might be able to come up with the goods to create something. Yeah. As the game panned out, it was quite open, and it didn't need that kind of creativity
that's a good point,
in and around the box. So I was pleasantly surprised that they came out and were so open, and I do wonder if that might have had a bearing on it. But the great man might tell us one day.
Yeah, it might do. So after an abysmal first half,
it was poor,
which is of zero spectacle value whatsoever, it was. Not much of a second half, but it wasn't too bad. It contained a goal. I don't think it was any great surprise how the goal came about.
No, I was confident. Like I said last week on this, whatever happens, I still have the opinion that we're always going to score now, and indeed won.
Yeah, I mean that was it was a long time coming, and didn't think it was going to happen. At one point, I was getting a little bit worried, but yeah, I think it was always going to arrive, or certainly. Really good openings would come about, and I thought he'd scuffed it when he first hit, and I thought the keeper might have got enough on it. But
I have written here on my phone as well. I was watching it to remind myself Gilby's run for the goal, but I don't remember what it was.
Gilby's run for the goal.
That's what I've written. He must have made a fantastic run or pass.
Yeah,
did he square it off?
I think he was the one that
picked
played it in.
I think he picked it up midfield. And
so I must have noticed something, Tone. I was. I'll be honest with you, Tony. I was a little bit tipsy on Saturday.
You did mention that in the message you sent me.
I had a drink before I left the house.
I've had a couple of whiskies.
Yeah, that was lovely.
A couple of
whiskies.
I
had a couple of them. So I've written that down to remind myself as a prompt, Tony.
Well, this is one of the reasons I don't make many notes these days, because I look at it and I think I can't fucking remember why I've written that.
So I've written that Gilby's run for the goal. It was a hell of a run, Tony.
Yeah, it was. We remember it well. Healy almost had a second, but for an amazing block by their defender, he managed to get his foot above his own head and block it out from going in the net. John's looking very puzzed there.
I'm trying to think.
Last
couple
of minutes,
I'd lost interest when I got to be honest.
Similar position. Well, he was much more central. Round the keeper, put it into the back of the net, or thought he had, but out of nowhere, this giant leg came up and cleared it away. So could have been 2-0, but for that. But overall, I don't think anybody can complain at 3 points.
It's one of those games that you'll never remember it, but at the end of the day, it's us 1, them 0. That's what you'll remember.
Other results went our way.
Yeah, that was another good aspect of Saturday.
Yeah.
But like you say, it wasn't a particularly. I mean, it wasn't something you'd remember. You know, you wouldn't think, "Oh, remember that day." Yeah.
Good feeling though after the game, because that felt. We felt like we should have won. We did.
We did. Yeah.
And again, looking at the other results.
I know it's a bit of an anomaly because they are like an odd team, aren't they? Really, to be quite honest, you know they're not the team that started early this season.
Not even
it's
close.
difficult to see. I mean, they were getting beat 5-6-0 at the beginning of the
season.
season.
Better side than I thought. Yeah. And it was an important win, as in if they hadn't won that last night and Saturday could be a bit sort of the pressure could be back on within a week. You could be right back in that because you've got to go. You know, at the end of the day, we've got to go to AFC and we've got to go to Tranmere, and suddenly you might lose a little bit of confidence. So it was a really important win. No, it didn't feel like a really important game. Looking back on it, when the season passes, you might think, well, that
Well,
win there
particularly,
actually just consolidated the feel-good feeling around Russell at the moment at the club. I feel it from the fans. I feel it around the club. If we'd have lost or drawn on Saturday, it might have started getting a bit edgy. And when you get into difficult places like Fratton Park and then Rotherham and so on, and then you just start looking over your shoulder again, and that could have been with this team. I still think it's fragile. I don't think we're home and dry yet. Football, as you say, a week's a long time in football, and there's a reason for that old cliche, and that could have been the case. So fair play to them.
Yeah.
They had to come out and play better, and they did, and they got a result, and they got the 3 points. So well done to them.
That is quite literally all that matters at the end of the day.
It's all that matters at the moment. We do want to see
longer.
better football than we saw earlier in the season, and than we might have seen for the
We're
past
seeing
2
better
years.
football,
But
aren't we now?
overall, you want these points, but especially when you're going away, you need them points at home.
And we're putting more teams between us and the bottom three now.
I think Tranmere, did they not get a draw last night?
No, Tranmere won
They
with
won.
a 95th minute winner.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It can turn around. Like they're now
and
I
that's
think,
gone from
6
what
points
looked
away
like
from AFC.
It was 13
Nailed
points.
on down,
That's
wasn't
gone
it?
down to 10 now.
So it can quickly turn around, can't it? So
It's
he
still
must
a
have had some strong
considerable,
ones.
that's a considerable points gap, 10 points between us and them. But like you say, I hate to have to put the mockers on things, but I'll be amazed if we get anything, on Saturday, to be quite honest.
I think we're more likely there than we were last night.
Really?
I think so.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised to hear
definitely.
you say that.
Definitely.
Only because have you seen the previous records since the last time we won away? We played 13. This is since we beat Blackpool in September.
Oh.
I remember it. I was there.
You were there.
What day? I thought, this is it. We turn around now. Here we
We're
come.
off.
Yeah. So we played 13 since then. We've won 0. Yeah. We've drawn 4 and lost 9. Up to last night, Portsmouth had played 13. They've won 12, drawn 1, lost none.
Oh, well, in
That's now
retrospect,
been
I
extended by
suppose,
one more, of course. So,
I think you have to remember the pressure will be on Rotherham on Saturday. And that comes at a price sometimes at this level with certain players. Having to win is quite difficult. And the crowd, I want them to win. So if the Dons can keep them quiet, which we'll probably talk about with Portsmouth, because they couldn't do that last night, with a bit self-destruct button.
yeah.
I think if they can keep that crowd there quiet, keep themselves in the game, which they're more than capable of doing in their present form, it could be an interesting afternoon. I wouldn't write the Dons off for not getting a draw.
Yeah, I think we're more likely to get something there. And
I'm surprised to hear you say that.
although it was a
But like we said a couple of weeks ago, I'm just purely going by what the form table says. At the minute. You don't think about. That's a good point you've said, that there's an astonishing amount of pressure on teams to win.
Yeah, remember what it's like for us.
Look at Wickham.
We've
We've said they will drop out, and they have done, haven't they? The pressure's on them now.
they lost to drew with Coventry last night.
Yeah, Rotherham. Yeah, Rotherham won, Coventry won. Last night.
See that they would expect it.
Someone
that's
I
a big
know
game.
was
That's
there,
only 1 point, and if
someone I know was there.
That could be an interesting afternoon. If the Dons get off to a good start, I think they're more than capable of getting a point there, which would be fantastic.
Wickham, and I'm not going to count Wickham because I think they'll just keep going backwards. But Sunderland are only 3 points behind Coventry and Rotherham at the top.
Yeah, it's really
Portsmouth are only
really
5 behind now, and then you've got Peterborough 6 points behind. So a couple of games that could turn around. And there's games in hand for Coventry on Rotherham. Portsmouth have got a game in hand as well. Even Fleetwood, who are on a bit of a run at the moment. And then you've got Oxford has started winning again on 54. So anything could happen there, really. I think at this point now, the top 7 of that league is a lot more interesting than the bottom 5 or 6.
Well, not for me.
No, I suppose I probably should have said that. But so are we done with Bolton? Anything else on Bolton?
Just recently
referee.
scored.
Anything to say on the referee? I don't remember him.
I can't remember him.
So therefore, he must have been.
He must have been all right.
Game,
I don't think. No, I can't remember anything he did wrong or whatever.
That's right. If we don't remember the ref, he must have been all right.
I don't think there was anyone around me shouting that he was rubbish or shouting at the line or so. Like we always say, they've had a good game if you can't remember.
Oh, I had to move second half.
Why was that bloke shouting?
No, well I didn't. Mum wasn't there, so I was sat at the back, and I just had to sit somewhere else in the second half. It was the usual. Get it forward. And then when it was going backwards, it was, or when it was going hoofed forwards, it was keep the ball. Fucking hell, mate! So I just thought
he didn't listen last week, then, did he? That obviously not.
No. So no, I moved second half. So then, last night,
Portsmouth, Tone.
4 minutes.
Yeah, it was a poor start, I must admit.
To be fair, Russ did say last week during his interview that there will be mistakes made.
There will be mistakes made. Who made the mistake? Was it JMT or Houghton?
No, it was Houghton. It was Houghton. It went past JMT. I can see what he was doing, but he's played that. I'm always going on about players being on autopilot and they're programmed to play a certain way, and sometimes it's very difficult for them to not do something without thinking about it first, or doing something without thinking about it first. And I think that's exactly what he's done. He's assumed that over there will be Louis, or someone will be there.
Well, he was, but their player anticipated it.
So this is what I noticed. They started off with a high press, then they dropped off a bit,
and then they came back into it.
But then they sort of did half and half, and
like
they
did
did exactly what they did to score the goal. They waited for the ball to be played, then they went. And they cut out so many passes. I mean, that was the best example of it, obviously, that goal. But the way I'm seeing it is 3 mistakes, 3 goals. The first one is obvious, that was Houghton. The second one, we're not quite sure what Lee was doing. I don't know, he lost it in the lights maybe or something. But he seemed to stand still, didn't he?
Right at the other end of a camera.
Because it was going over his head, but he was looking the other way.
Is that the one where they were just...
Everybody just seemed to stand still. Yeah, it was very, very weird.
Here, had we all gone to sleep at the back for their second, appalling defending, I've written.
Yeah, everybody just seemed to stop, and the bloke couldn't believe his luck as he went through.
What I've written here, like you did say it before, we started recording, was it really was like when we were in the Championship, with the slightest little mistake and they would punish you straight away.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
That's exactly what it was.
Like I've written that we were the dominant team. But like when we were in the Championship,
3 mistakes.
You make the slightest little mistake there on you, like a ton of bricks.
But basically 70% possession, 80% pass completion again. In League One, that's mental. Absolutely mental. 80% pass completion.
I have written here, I'd been drinking, I must admit, and I've written here. I'll let you read it out, Tony. That sentence here starts with sometimes.
Sometimes you just need to hoof it tiff up.
That's what I was written down. Because we were passing it about at the back a lot last night, I must admit, and I don't think we were particularly on our game last night.
Well, I'm hoping, in the unlikely event that this happens, that other teams don't watch that DVD.
Well, I suspect
and
they're all
see
watching
what they could do about, rather than the high press or the low press, to something in between where they wait for the ball to be played and then go. Because, I mean, I say, Russ did say it last week, mistakes are going to happen, he's not going to change the way that they do it. And once again, no one's really moaning about the loss as such.
I thought we were all right. I thought we were like as good as we'd been before.
The best way to judge your own performance is often to see what the other team are saying, the other team's fans, and their fans have been very, very complimentary. A couple of them said the best team that's come to Fratton Park this season.
They always say that when they win.
Yeah, you could say, but then...
I mean, to be fair, I think what Russell's doing is extremely brave.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
That's probably being polite, but it is brave, and I really do admire the way he's sticking to his football verb. But he's a young manager, and I do wonder, perhaps in 6 months or in a year, when a defeat really hurts. I know every defeat, but I mean really hurts. Perhaps a game where you're going for a playoff place, or even in a playoff game, and you play that brave football. And that's what I'm going to call it. Very brave football and commendable football, because it is MK Dons.
Basically,
we'll talk about that.
Will he bottle it?
No, I don't think. I don't think it's bottling it. I mean, isn't it an area of common sense which, boot it to fuck, comes into the equation? As in, you're away from home. The players the adrenaline is pumping in the first 10 minutes of any football match. Therefore, they're pacey, they're alert, they're looking, they're sharp. So to be brave to play that kind of football out of the back, and one slight error and you are going to get punished.
Yeah.
Whereas perhaps it might be in hindsight, and this is what it'd be interesting. I hope Russell stays for a number of years like Carl does. That he might think, actually, first 10 minutes, boys, let's just play it safe. and hoof it to that.
Yeah.
Then we'll start playing our football. But is that impossible to do? I don't know. But I do wonder if there'll be a learning curve that actually going away from home against a team that's very good on the ball and just taking that early part of a game concept. Each half we considered, lost 2 goals very early in each half when players are up for it. They're very alert. Say they can shut you down very quickly. You don't see them shutting you down that fast 65 minutes, 75 minutes into a game or 38 minutes into a game. That's the point I'm saying. So perhaps there'd be a little bit of a learning curve. I don't want him to stop playing that kind of football. I think you're the fans. You tell me. I think that's what we wanted. The reason why there's this feel-good factor at the club is that we feel like we've got our club back after some sort of indifferent football. None of the managers who came in wanted to lose. That's ridiculous. But they did play. Some of them did play a particular brand of football that wasn't akin to the MK Dons and not what we were used to watching since the hockey stadium days to where we are. And I think we're all very delighted. But there's going to come a time when perhaps where we are now is in an area of little comfort. But when the team's pushing and wanting to get somewhere and achieving, and you lose games by playing that way in the first 10 minutes of a game, we might change.
Let's hope it is learning rather than self-doubt or a reaction, because we saw it when Paul Ince came back the second time round. He was a different man.
He was a different
manager.
He was
a completely different manager.
That's why you should never go back in life.
It's
a great example of it.
We saw Roberto Di Matteo completely lose it when we lost 3 games in a row. We were second in the league.
You thought
again, young manager.
He then went and changed everything.
Young manager. I mean, that's where this is what we like, having fresh managers at the club. It seems to suit the style of our DNA, but it does come at a cost.
Yeah,
he did say
Carl changed over the years. It's you'd know, Tony. I think it's so similar to the first season of Carl. He wouldn't change his system at all, and it paid dividends. I think the system that Russell plays and the system that Carl plays, this is not a criticism, it is reliant on having very good footballers.
Well, that's a brilliant
now this
point.
was my question.
Okay, this is the point. So sometimes you've got to look at what you've got and go, okay, I'd really like to play that way, but actually we might have to play this way until I can get the players in that I want to play.
I would agree with that to a certain extent. The Liverpool team back in the 70s and 80s, I always say it's greater than the sum of its parts. They had some fantastic players like Kenny Dalglish and John Barnes and Peter Beardsley and Ian Rushdown. But when you look at the rest of the core of those teams, they weren't exactly world beaters as individuals. They were just, as a unit, a very, very good team.
Thrilled,
yeah. Thrilled. And that's what we became under Carl as the years progressed, was not only that let's be honest, Anthony Kay is not going to get into many teams, is he? I was trying to.
He roasted me last week, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
As I was thinking about saying that, I thought I don't really want to say that.
But Russell said last week on this podcast,
yeah,
to give him his due, was that he wasn't expecting this to happen.
Yeah,
it quite literally, it happened, in the space of 3 or 4 hours. He was on the bench. The next thing you know, he's a manager. So he's had to I don't want to speak for the guy. I met him once last week on this podcast, which you should all listen to if you've not listened to it. But it'd be a bit odd, wouldn't it, if you'd missed last week to listen to this pile of shit. But I can see what you're saying, and I'll be interested to see where he goes with this, with next season, to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm confident we'll stay up, and I'm thinking to myself, what's going to happen with the players over the summer? Because that's not really his. I mean, well, he's brought some guys in, hasn't he? I suppose, but it's not really his team, is it? Really?
Not yet.
No. But what he has given them is, what I like about it is, he's sticking by it, and the players are bought into it, and a lot of the players are playing better football than
they're playing much
some of
better
them than I actually thought they could play. So
that's it.
This is not
Gilby being the classic example.
Yeah,
he's
Lee Gilby. I mean, he's done some fundamental changes which have really worked, and he's encouraging the players to play football, and they are playing football. You talk about your pass completion rate and all that, so it's great. This is not knocking it, but there might just be an element of common sense here and there, but I'm like you. I'm thinking he's now got a bedrock of quite a good squad.
Yeah.
And if we can get the recruitment right in the summer, we're not talking like 10 or 12 players or anything ridiculous. If you can get some of the players in to enhance that style that he's obviously embracing, I think we could have an enjoyable season next year. I don't think it'd be too far to say you're going to smash it and get in the playoffs and stuff like that. But isn't it nice to be sitting here thinking we've actually got a future, and a future as in we're going to be what we want to be.
Yeah, not
playing football.
Just stagnating League One again.
I want to see him. I'd like to see him and get to work with Sam Nombe and David Kasuma. I felt this season they've stalled a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's because of the pressure and the change of manager. I think they reached the stage of becoming a first team, probables or even regulars. And I still think there's more in them to go on and be better footballers. But at the moment in time, I don't think Russell and the coaches can get on and really coach them that much. So it's going to be a really interesting summer. You talk about getting new signings in. I think we've got 2 players there who can actually move on.
Well, we said they were as good as
move up
signings when they
did
came
see
in.
that
Especially Sam when he first came in.
Yeah, when Healy got injured that time, and had to bring Sam in, we did say it's as good as I'm a new signing. He was a revelation.
And the other good thing is, I'm sure Russell now is playing a type of football that the academy are playing as well.
Yeah.
I think we had a situation where the academy were playing one style of football and the first team were playing and
that was always
how
very
the players
important.
come through, and
that's
one of the good
important.
things that Carl, and Mike Dove, I've got to say, Mike Dove and Carl, they were on parallel lines, and hence why Delhi could come in
and you could see that in their games that they played.
And I think that's important. So
It's early days for him as a manager. I mean, he's only just been a manager for 3 or 4 months. It's early
but
days.
he's made a massive difference.
He's made a huge difference.
As I said, what we got from that interview last week is that
got some water, Tony. It was nice, wasn't it?
He's got a plan.
He has got a plan.
Not
that
sort
plan.
Not that plan. And he didn't mention legs or owls or anything like that. He seems to have got a long-term plan, or at least a long-term vision for what he wants to do. And
I didn't get the impression last week.
Unless I get sacked.
Yeah, I didn't get the impression last week that he was looking at this as a stepping stone to get to somewhere else. I mean, we've had other managers here that have,
blatantly,
perhaps blokes from like Scotland, for example,
Yeah.
who just come out and did say, "I've come down here because I want to get my name known in England." Where you think to yourself, no, that's not how it works, mate, and it didn't work for him. So good for him. But I did get the impression when he was speaking last week,
wouldn't you? You'd hope so,
that he's here for the long term. But I mean,
it does depend who comes calling.
I think for him, it's an advantage from the point of view that he's played in the Premiership, he's played at every level, he's played at international level as well. He doesn't really need to be breaking his neck to get into higher echelons of management, because invariably it doesn't work.
No,
Paul Ince being a prime example for us. Roberto Di Matteo was a little bit unlucky, it has to be said. What happened to him?
one in the Champions League, Tony. How unlucky can you get?
Well, I say a little bit unlucky.
How terribly unlucky, Tony.
Even to a certain extent, Martin Allen, who probably went to the wrong club at the wrong time.
Yeah, he
but
did. He was a
we've seen them.
example
We've
of that.
seen them come and go, and as they've walked away, we've always said the same thing: you've made a mistake, mate.
Everyone.
You've made a mistake, and we've seen players do it. We've seen Welsh George Williams, a good example.
Where's he now?
Brendan Gallo. He broke his leg, didn't he? First game of the season, was it, at Forest Green?
I
Anyway,
think for players it's different. I think if players, if a bigger club comes here, and it is more money, so at the end of the day they're professionals, and if people are earning, if you get someone's going to offer more money to do the same job, then you're going to take it. I think managers, I think what happened to Paul is like Paul Ince, as we say. I think that sort of had reverberations, I think, round to perhaps aspiring managers who perhaps thinking, I'll do one in League One and then I'll go, because it was like, definitely, bless him, He was a good manager. I worked with him. I've been blessed to be privileged to be at the club for a long time, and the seasons he was there, he was very drilled, and he was an extremely good manager, and especially as a leader of men. They loved him, and you couldn't help but sort of respect him and had admiration for him. So
complete faith.
I can see why he had.
He
had a game
plan.
He wanted to go to Milan and stuff like that. I mean, it was all being laid out, and and you got to have that self belief. And I'll be surprised. I thought he would do all right. I didn't think he did, but he did come unstuck, didn't he? I think he made the fatal error of perhaps not having the backroom team that he should have had when he went to Blackburn.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect to Carl, But it's like
possibly an ego thing as well. In there. Yeah.
But that's what you learn on it. But I think with Russell, I think everybody at the club is hoping that he's here for for the long term. I'm not talking perhaps a Carl era of 6-7 years, but
I wouldn't be against that.
Perhaps a campaign, shall we say, where next year could be consolidation and improvement, and then perhaps. And hopefully, if he's still on board there the following year, you'd think, well, right, we can have a go.
We have another
go.
And he is a very engaging fella. The fans can relate. Well, most of them. There's a few, obviously, that just don't get it at all.
I thought he was He was very, very open last week, which I was quite surprised at. How we asked him a question, and he didn't dodge any of the questions, did he?
Well, and did say he's very open and honest, and we didn't ask any awkward questions. Well, none that any of our listeners heard, anyway.
No, I mean, they were all cut out, weren't they?
Yeah, but no, I mean, what you heard last week was probably 99% of what was said, and anything that was cut out was because it was inappropriate language.
I didn't really cut anything out.
Well, fair play to the chairman and the board, because it was the absolutely right choice. Because
it was the right choice. I was surprised.
You had to have someone to come from within that dressing room. I knew what was, the problems that were. I'm not saying anything was going wrong would be wrong, but there were some problems and things weren't going right, and he was in exactly the right position to do it, and he's proved that decision right, hasn't he? And then it sort of reminded Pete and the board that actually this is the type of manager we want. Young, bit of rock and roll, plays football this way. In some games you pay off. Last night didn't pay off, but actually we'd rather lose like that than lose like we did
Russ said
against Stevenage or Rochdale away.
He did say last week there's ways of losing.
It's going to come, and it's a two-way thing. And I think it's hopefully we'll be safe at the end of the season, and actually you look back on it with a bit of joy, thinking
at least half a season of
change. It's been enjoyable football.
Actually going to watch a game. Because I was that close to not going to a home game.
I mean, I do hope Sam, I'd love to see Sam Nombe get a little run and get a few more goals, just so he can end the season on a high. Because I think if Sam Nombe ends the season on a high, he'll start next season on a high.
Yeah.
He's just, like I say, just seems to have fallen away a little bit, not getting the chances, not taking the chances that he was earlier on. Love to see him, if we can get sort of relatively safe, I'd love to see him get a run.
Yeah.
Because I think if he can finish high, and I say, and also David Kasumo to come in and perhaps place a bit more. Get them two confidence back up for the pre-season. And
I find him a very similar player to that fellow that gets sent off last night. Morris.
He's very similar. I mean, he must when Carl arrived, okay, that's what I've got to be. Yeah. But I'll tell you now, he turns quicker than Carl, and he runs. Yeah. He runs at people.
Yeah, Carl spends a fair amount of the time of his back to goal.
Yeah, but Sam doesn't. Sam will turn. Sam will push it and go. So that's what I'm saying. I think he's been the find of the season for me, Sam Nombe. I didn't think he was that good. That's not being.
You've said that.
I'm not being
disrespectful. You were surprised when he brought in.
I thought he was okay, and it's like, hang on a minute. This is what I'm saying about coaching with a little bit more experience, and I don't want him to go out on loan. I don't go anywhere else. He's one of ours, but I think if we can find time to coach Sam Nombe, we could have a real plan.
I saw him for the first time face to face in, God knows, 3 or 4 years when we were waiting to speak to Russ, and he is a totally different shape to what he was when I knew him when he was a kid. Mm. I mean, he had a great big fat ass. He was about a foot shorter than he had a massive ass, but now he like a puppy who hasn't grown into their skin, right. And now when he walked over, and I thought, blimey, he's like. He's a man.
Yeah,
he's a size of a man.
The thing that's impressed me, it's not so much. He scored some goals, and he loves to put a defender in the stands, which obviously all the fans like. But have a look at some of his plays. Touch. He's got a great first touch now. His touch is getting better and better, and his awareness of other people around him. And that's what's impressing me. Yeah, he can score some goals. We all know he can score goals, but it's actually his overall play, which is like. Okay, didn't think you were that kind of player, which is why he excites me. Is that we could have someone of real quality on our hands. That So great.
Yes. So we sort of went off the point there, which was the Portsmouth game, but I think we pretty much
summed it up. It was a brave performance. It didn't pay off that time. Hopefully they'll be brave on Saturday, and it will pay off.
Yeah, we lost in the right way, if that's the right phrase.
If you can lose,
we made 3 mistakes and got punished for 3 mistakes.
I mean, if you're going to go and lose, you want to go and lose at least making an effort rather than just what we've had.
No complaint. In fact, very little
season.
reaction from the fans last night, other than
stop
mistakes.
Stop fucking about at the back. There was a
Stop
lot of
fucking
that.
about at the back, which is turns out,
was right.
Russell's prediction was right. It has to. We have to have the odd mistake. So, just a bit of housekeeping here, John. Have we come up with a question for the Willie Garay gloves?
I've got a question, haven't I?
You have.
What have I done
Excellent.
with it?
We've got a pair of Willie Garay gloves to give away that he already gave me a few weeks ago. And chips. Chip fat.
You'll have to talk amongst yourselves because I don't know where it is.
All right, well, I'll start talking to Lee then, shall I? So Lee's here tonight, but we were thinking that Lee deserves his own podcast, or at least one episode, I should say.
What episode of it?
He's more welcome to do his own podcast, but... So, for those of you who don't know Lee, he's the bloke in the stripy bobble at most games.
Yeah.
Down on the
found
pitch. He's found it. He's found it.
Carry on. I found it.
You've been with the club from day one, haven't you?
Well, I've been with Pete since 1998.
98. So, how do you know Pete originally then?
Just very generally from the music business, as in he owned a world-class studio and was
not like this one though, is it? You look around.
No, it's nothing like it. So I used the studio a few times, and then I was somehow a journalist at the time, even though I can't spell journalist. And
I can vouch for that.
As you well know. And I was working at the Citizen at the time, and I got tipped off about a consortium that was going to Barnet.
Yeah.
Bring Barnet to Milton Keynes.
Barnet?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Because they were in a little bit of trouble. And that's a weird story. It come from a very good source. So I just wrote a little, 200 word, blah blah blah. Consortium went to Barnet, and looking to bring football to Milton Keynes. It was on about page 29. Buried down. And then out of the blue, Pete rang up and look, how you doing? And so I hadn't really spoke to him in depth before. And he said, "Oh, that story you wrote about Barnet." And I went, "Yeah," and he said, "Yeah, that's interesting. Where'd you find that? What's that all about?" And I said, "Well, you're laughing. You probably guessed what's coming." I said, "Well, I don't know." I got it. Yeah. He said, "Well, who told you?" I said, "Well, I can't tell you that. It's like journalistic rules. You know that, Pete." No. Who told you? I'm really interested. I'm really interested in that story. I'm thinking, what is like the man with the mullet want to know about? Of Barnet football. And he said, "Tell you what, come round. You've been round for ages." Yeah, okay then. So I went round, and if you've been in Pete's company, Tony, you know what I'm on about. When he gets excited, he walks around in a circle.
Endlessly
In a circle. So I wasn't aware of this. I hadn't seen this before because I'd only met him when it's polite banter, music banter. So I'm sitting in his great big manor house, and he's walking around in a circle, like very agitated. I'm thinking, Christ, what's up with him? And he kept going on about this story, and in the end, I just said, "Well, for fuck's sake, what? Why are you so bothered about this poxy story?" And he said, "Oh, why?" He said, "Why? Because it's me." It's like great. I was just said, deathly silence, and with that, he leant back, finally sat down, leant back behind his seat, and then pulled out a massive poster on a Fomex board of Stadium MK.
Really? Even then?
Wow. And I just went, "Oh my God," like literally jumped up and just sort of clapped me out and said, "That's going to be the best front page I've ever written in my life." And then he shat himself and just said, no, you can't print anything. Like literally he went white.
So when was
and
this?
then this is 98.
Blimey.
Right, so I went 98 stroke. I'm sure it's 98. It might be. It's around that period. So 98, 99. So then I went white, thinking, you can't do this. I sort of said to him, "Pete, it's like taking a virgin into a brothel. This is like, you can't then say, no, this is what you can have later. It's what you could have won, or it's what you could have had." It's like, it's like a bullseye moment. But me being me, I sort of went, okay, because I didn't want to upset him. And obviously he was telling me it would ruin the whole deal if I let it out of the bag then. And that was in October. And then it got to Christmas, and I kept ringing him saying, blah blah blah. I've got to run a story, Pete. It's doing me head in. I can't sleep. It's such a good story. And no, it's not ready. I'll be ready next week. It's always next week. And then it got to February, and then I heard a little whisper, and I read a little line in the Rival, something about football in it, and I thought, hang on, they know. There's always a great rivalry.
What was the other one? I can't remember. The Herald, wasn't it?
Was it?
Was it the Herald?
Oh, MK News.
MK News it was at the time, yeah. Or News on Sunday or something like that it was then. And then, so I just ran and said, I'm running it Thursday. He went, yeah, all right then. And then we did it. But what that did, I think, without blowing my own ego, I think Pete realised then that he could trust me.
Yeah.
Because they kept my mouth shut. And then that's it, that's how it started.
He does, I mean, one thing I do know, the people that work for him have been there forever.
Yeah, yeah.
And once, I suppose, you've got his
And
confidence.
You can, and it's like, yeah, so that was it, and it's what a journey, and what a fascinating journey to watch a drawing, as I say, like on the back of a fab packet, to be sitting on it, and I do think about it every now and again. It's not something, at least, more than a few times a season, thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. And
Russell did say it last week.
It's really
He said it's an astonishing thing, which it is. It's an amazing thing.
And it's
for
when it
one. I
hurts,
know he's not done it by himself, but he
well,
is.
he has
really.
I think he has. I think I mean, I had this with Carl and him had a fractious relationship, and in the end, I had to say, Carl, please stop giving the chairman some grief because he's my mate, and like, what have you built in the last 7 years? I said, I'll put a shed up, and look,
How about this?
Carl, give him a break. It's like people moan about Paul McCartney's latest album. Really, like, give the guy a break. He's given us joy. This is that kind of thing. So, and it does upset me, but he's human. He's made it.
And he's learning as well. I mean, the club's only 15, 16 years old.
I suppose.
But it's quite old for a club, though, Tony, isn't it? Because there's not many. You are custodians, and even though it is Pete Stadium, I still feel. I'm not part of the board. I don't know why I am there really, but they listen to what I say now and again. Yeah. But you do feel. I only feel like you're a custodian, and it makes you. You don't own the club. You're just looking after it, and and in that. What I'm trying to say is most chairmen and their entourage, shall we say, are very rarely at a club for longer than 5 years.
Yeah.
They're usually in, they put some money in, they enjoy the experience, then the experience becomes a bit sour. They go, actually, I've had enough of this, and they go, and then another guy. And that's isn't it? It's the norm of norm.
It's becoming like
so, actually,
players,
there is, you say we're young, but not. I think there's a lot of experience at the club now.
Yeah.
Pete's got a lot of experience of being a chairman. I think the board have got experience of being a board, and etc. etc. So I think we are. I'm quite proud to say I think we are quite an established football club, and I quite like the way the club is run on and off the field, the way it treats other clubs, and it's the media department, etc. etc.
I've seen that on away days, and I've seen that at home games where there are always murmurs about this isn't just a really nice stadium, but the people are really nice, the facilities are really good, and the way that guests are treated, particularly on a match day, visiting directly.
Well, the whole thing. I mean, it was really important, and I will take a little bit of credit of it, as in the hockey stadium years. I'm telling you, when we used to go away, mate, we weren't treated very well.
No,
I'm not going to name any clubs.
Well,
but
it's a fairly long list at that point.
There was like that team at the sports analysts recording the game were given video cassettes of Coronation Street. This is days before you couldn't put it onto a laptop or anything. You had to wait for the team to give you a VHS, and lo and behold, when you got home, there was it was Back to the Future or something on it. That used to happen, and then halfway through a game, the power would cut only on your camera, and there was just stuff like that going on. No parking spaces at hardly any for any of us. Just generally just not treated very well. But what we used to do, and we made this sort of promise, that when them teams that were really horrible to us, clubs, when they come to us, we just treat them like lords.
Exactly.
Nice.
And they used to be
That's
so
the best
embarrassed,
revenge, isn't it?
and it was like, and over the years, because we've done that, it has paid off.
They do see living
It has
well as the
paid
best
off.
revenge, don't they?
You can definitely spot. There's a massive difference to how we're treated at games at clubs now to what it was when we were at hockey stadium.
One of the things Carl used to say a lot was, "It's nice to be nice," and he'd say to me,
Well, that's good coming from him.
Because it was him. It didn't have to be
more
nice.
damage than anyone.
But he'd say to me, when you get to the ground, because I was always the first to arrive at the ground, he said, "Be nice to everybody. If they offer you a cup of tea, always say yes. If they offer you something to eat, always say yes. But just be nice to people, because when we get there,
then we can be horrible
you'll
to
have
them."
warmed them up." Or whatever. He said, but from that point of view,
he was
being who we are, to show a bit of humility, and because you can take it one of two ways. When the first time AFC played at our place when I was kit man, they completely ignored me completely. They would not say a single word.
Did it hurt your feelings?
Well, as I'd heard they'd arrived, so I went straight upstairs, offered to help them unload their kit and get it downstairs. Completely and utterly ignored me.
Yeah, they're children.
Completely and utterly ignored me. So I went in and after them a cup of tea, completely ignored. Not a single word to me
I feel really
the
bad
entire
for you.
time.
I really do.
But I put the effort in. At least I tried. So before MK Dons, you ran a nightclub. You were a band manager.
Yeah.
With the world's largest band, members-wise.
Yeah, it was great.
How many? How many
Was
exactly?
it anything between 18 to 23 people?
Jesus Christ!
If anybody's seen photos, it's
fantastic.
the Blues Collective. If anybody's seen photos, they generally are aerial shots because it's the only way you could get everybody in. So what was that like? Running the club? It
was the band first, because it leads to running the clubs. I mean, we were in original bands, and original bands, wrote 14 songs. One was good, and the rest were absolute rubbish. And you hoped to become a pop star, and you used to go and do terrible nights at London on a Monday night, thinking an A&R man.
I've seen some of the publicity shots.
Yeah,
as well.
We used to do all that, and make videos and that. But your whole mindset was to become famous, which is, it sounds ridiculous now, but that's what you did. That's what everybody was into. You wanted to become a pop star, and you did anything else. And it just reached a say going down to like sort of Peckham on a Wednesday night in some back of a pub with 3 people a dog, and the long journeys home, you're just thinking, this is mad, this is we should be enjoying this, and we're not. And my musical upbringing was playing bongos and like conga drums in my dad's dance band from about the age of 11. And I just remembered how much fun they had. I wasn't a man now, I was just a boy, but I could tell. And they were just like, on the sauce and having a laugh and playing, and that camaraderie spirit that's in a band. And I just kept thinking, like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. So there was about sort of half a dozen original bands around the city. Great scene, really exciting scene that was going on.
When was this? What sort
It's
of
just
time?
like about 83, about 84.
Because we moved here in 87, so I missed all that.
No, we were around this time, so it's about 84, 85, and I said, do you know what, Christmas is coming up. Why? I mean, we're all into the Blues Brothers. The Blues Brothers is such a cult film, and now watching that film, it's sort of like, it reminded me of my dad and thinking, hang on a minute. It was like, there's that bit in the film with the lights going on, John Belushi, the band, and like, I'm thinking, the band. I was with him thinking, that's what I want to do, And it was because of the film. I said, why don't we just do it for a laugh? We'll just do it. And it was brilliant. So we got about 14 of us together. And we just learned some Blues Brothers songs and some old 60s songs. And then and Bill Billings, who's a famous local sculptor, he used to have these crazy cabaret nights at Woughton, which is now the Pits, or was the Pits. And you'd have like Australian folk dancers and someone reading poetry and all that. And he said, why don't you come and play it? So we did 20 minutes. I went, okay then. And we went on, and we just like, the place just went bonkers, and I mean bonkers. It was like, Asian hippies and punks and whatever, and they all just came together, and it was like one of the most exhilarating 20 minutes. It's like,
I know exactly.
Oh, hang on a minute, this works. I like this. We haven't had this adulation for like in our lives. So then we went back and went, right, let's do it. And the first gig sold out, and I'm proud to say that every gig we ever did in Milton Keynes, we sold out.
I mean, as you can see sitting here, I've played music my whole entire life, but I've never had such fun in my whole entire life as when I was in a covers band. It was just utterly fantastic
But
fun.
it was a crazy band. And
really
what we did, cleverly, we brought ska into it, which was very unfashionable at the time because of the skinhead side of ska, but we were Trojan fans more than the specials and stuff like that. And then this thing about being a tribute act, it's great fun for like 6 gigs, and then you get fed up with trying to be John Belushi. You just want to be myself. So we just ditched all the hats,
you dressed up like the
at the beginning, we were proper. And there was only one other Blues Brothers tribute then. I mean, now it's a bit naff. Then it was really cool. Like students and colleges couldn't get enough of it. We could get loads of bookings, but because there was only ABBA, Bjorn again, and the Boogie Blues Brothers in London, and then there was us. There was no other tribute acts then. So we were like ahead of the game just by being idiots.
Just by being in the right place at the right time.
There was none of the teen spirits and the jam, and there was no tribute bands at all. So it was like, and I was sort of 28, but most of the band were like 18 and 19. You don't see at that time,
Yeah, kids of that age.
you know, you're talking Stone Roses, the Smiths, all this like got to drink blackcurrant and cider and sit in a dark corner and cry
That's
about
you still
your
throwing now,
girlfriend.
isn't it?
Yeah,
You didn't see young play. So when we were going to universities, it was a very mirror image of, you know, the band.
The guys in the band.
Wow, a couple of band who were the same age as us. It's just like amazing.
So which club did you run?
Oh, we played TikTok and then...
No, you said you ran a club.
Oh, a club, yeah. So the success of the band, and I was at BT, and I got promoted at BT somehow, and I just ended up sort of being a battery in an office, which I couldn't deal with, and they offered voluntary redundancy, and I thought I'll have some of that, and I just walked into a job running it was a wine bar, but it was a bit like the Cavern.
Right.
It's the best I can give your listeners.
Yeah.
And,
What, here in
myself.
Milton Keynes?
Yeah, it's at Duke's. It's called Duke's Wine Bar.
In CBX, do you remember it was sort
the
of
Winter Gardens?
Yes, I do remember that.
And
in the middle,
it had some halcyon days under a gentleman named Finn, who was absolutely amazing and ran the club really well. And he did mainly covers bands. And then I went in with a different slant, and I brought the tribute bands up from London. It was like Teen Spirit's first gig, the Jams, for all these bands, because I knew from. And it worked, and I had 3 years there. Then I went on to 3 years at Bar Central, and it was fantastic. But it was pressure. I do wryly smile at some, shall I say, charitable organisations who get funding, who run venues. If I had a bad month, I was out of a job. So I had to make the numbers work. You had to cover the door. You had to cover the door, to cover the doorman, cover the band, and cover the bar staff, and all that. So there was a bit of pressure with it, but I sort of thrived on it, and. Yeah, it was a great period. But then you're in the middle of a nightclub in your 30s.
Don't point at me like that. Why
in your 30s, and then you're thinking, it's a very dangerous lifestyle. Somehow I didn't drink. I like a drink, but I used to not drink while I was on duty.
That's always a good idea.
But I drank when I got home because I wanted to chill out and relax after it. So you're drinking and smoking at 3:30 in the morning, and I had young kids at 8 and 9. Thought, no. I've got to knock this on the head, but luckily it was good timing because once the smoking ban come in, that kind of club
that's not that, I suppose, isn't it?
It went.
Yeah, it did for a while, didn't it? It just went dead.
So then it's journalism, then the football. That's my life.
Pointing at me
Dr.
again.
Feelgood.
Stop pointing at me.
Dr. Feelgood. Now, John, you're a fan, I believe.
I'm a fan of such music.
Right, so in 1 minute, tell us about Dr. Feelgood.
Well, I was at school, NME, poster, little advert in the back. Never seen a band in a club before. Never. I've seen the pub down the road, Billy and the Bletchley Boys, but never actually seen a named band. And my good friend at the school his name was Geordie, and he went on to be the guitarist of Killing Joke.
Oh, really?
Still in Killing Joke.
He's still in Killing Joke, because we did it them the other day, funnily
I said to him, this band looks cool. I like the advert. And it was at the Roundhouse. I said, it's on a Sunday, it's like 7 o'clock. I said, should we go? And he went, yeah, go. So we got on the train. Got to Camden, and it was fantastic. So we got off. We got all we got the big 3-button flares and long hair on it. And we get off, and there's a queue, and hang on a minute. And then it was like people with the John Travolta, I call them the cap sleeve T-shirts, a bit Northern Soul, but they're no flares and like pumps, and you're thinking, and like sort of Ziggy Stardust hair. It wasn't punk, but it was like, and there was loads of them thinking, this is a bit weird. What's going on? And you could tell. I mean, we didn't really say much to each other. It was just like, wow. And then we got in and around us. It was absolutely rammed. And then this band just came. I've never seen a photo of them. I've never even heard a song. And then it was a warm-up band called Fun Boy, who were quite well known. And then Dr. Phil would come on, and it was like, talk about, say, the Blues Brothers moment again. So for me, it was never the Sex Pistols or the Clash. It was Dr. Phil, because we just the place went absolutely potty. Because we were used to Led Zeppelin and The Who, Yes, Arch, and all these bands, and then suddenly there's these guys standing there with, pinched, like drainpipe trousers and playing songs that lasted 2.5 minutes and blew the place apart.
I can remember saying to someone, I was in a band once with this guy, and his favourite group was bloody some grunge thing, Pearl Jam.
Oh yeah.
And I was trying to explain to the bloke about when Nevermind the Bollocks come out.
Yeah.
And I said, it might now, mate. I said, but at the time, like you're saying, I said, when it came out, you're just thinking, fuck me, where did this come from? And it's exactly the same thing. It's like, I really like this band called Sleaford Mods. I don't know if you've heard of them.
Sick of them. Fucking hell.
but
I'll tell you later.
But the thing about them is they like, they're a band you think, I can't see where you've come from, you blokes. They're just two
you've got
guys
no
you think,
idea.
I can't see, like, I've no idea where this came from.
yeah.
And I suppose it's the same thing, when you first see something like, you think, Jesus Christ, where did this come from? It doesn't happen very often, does it, really?
I would say listen to them, form your own opinion, but not for me.
You're not a fan to them?
No, well, I just think there's a little bit too much
Swearing to
hype.
it. You're
Oh
not
no,
a
I mean,
fan
I
of
don't mind
swearing, right?
sitting on the back of a bus swearing for 3 minutes. I'm fine with that. I ain't got a fucking issue.
Oh, that's...
But in general, it's not really.
It was a great night, great band, and then obviously what I think a fantastic sort of next 5-6 years of music, which is why they say. I've just read Steve Jones's autobiography.
Oh yeah, I read that a couple of years ago.
Really
There's
good.
a man with some problems, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's very interesting. Very interesting that the Pistols were so big as you mentioned, but it wasn't really till what nearly 20 years later they actually sort of played the gigs that they should have deserved to play at the time. To be the biggest band in the world and not be able to play, it's like really came across out of the book. There was like, wow, that's so weird. Never really thought about it at the time, but yeah, that was a great period for music, and I still try and catch up with new bands, but the whole rock thing is finished. It's done and dusted, and it's gone off in illusion.
So when's the next reunion then?
Oh, the Collective? No, never. No, it was like.
Didn't you say that about 10 years ago?
No, we haven't. Last one we did was the 2000.
Yeah.
So it's not bad, But no, we've been tempted, but the band was punk soul. Most of the band were speeding out their box and whatever. It wasn't my cup of tea. I preferred lager and cigarettes. So, but it was so adrenaline to try and recreate.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and what was interesting, it may sound like being egotistic saying the band sold out. The reason the band sold out, it wasn't the band; it was what the band stood for in a way. It was the alternative at that time to that indie scene and the disco scene, and you couldn't get in Chicago's. You didn't want to go to them because you didn't want to dress up like an estate agent and that kind of thing. So we become the alternative culture.
Well, that sounds like your thing.
I mean, there was like. If we sold the sports out 1,300 tickets for 1,200 tickets for the sports at Wolfton in advance with just a question mark. That was pretty cool. And the gig didn't start till 11 o'clock at night. But most people came because it was a late drink, and they knew the kind of people were going. Yeah. It was the band were over there most of the time. You were part of the scene.
I don't think I ever seen you. I've got to be honest.
We
came down here.
I think.
Like I say, we came down here in '87, but we used to go to the pits. I mean, they had some phenomenal groups.
Yeah, Chris Kemp went in there. And
he had massive bloke. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, Chris Kemp absolutely revolutionised it. Yeah, turned
we've seen
it
some
around.
astonishing.
Yeah, so Trevor Jevons who named it, and Trevor lives in Stoney who named it the Pits.
I seen what's his name there? Bloody Robert Plant there. Were you
he had everyone. I mean, it was a 2-year period. He had people travelling over from Europe to come to the Pits.
Yeah, it was great.
And he's gone on to be a very successful entrepreneur, and rightly so.
Very, very big, especially late 80s, early 90s. Some big up and comers like Happy Mondays and.
Well, Milton Keynes was alive then. Yeah, Milton Keynes was such a fantastic place to be in that period between sort of 88 to. Mid-90s.
Yeah, when we first moved here, really, I mean, we'd come to
Ultra Vegas,
Scotland.
Richard Long, Lickett, there was even the club's bestsellers, Bentleys, Winter Gardens.
It was open for about a week, wasn't it?
It became a growth of an alternative culture sort of took over.
Yeah.
Most of the clubs had promoters, and they were all like local promoters.
Yeah.
But they were doing like massive. I mean, Ultra Vegas was huge. Huge. Boy George and all these people coming down, but then and also the music side of it. It was a great time to be in it, and I do miss that side of it.
I miss it, I must admit.
But it never happened again. It's all been taken over and it's all corporate. But what I would like to make, if I ever get time away from my present sort of thing with Freddie Beretti, I would like to make a documentary film on just to show people what this city was doing back in the day.
There's the two things I want to finish off with. One, your own personal mission and passion to document Milton Keynes from the second it became Milton Keynes. You've done a lot of work over the years on that, with your most notably 106 roundabouts and the Curly Whirly and whatever, which is a great read, and everyone should get that and have a look at it. Working with the Living Archive as well, a lot of my favourite was the football section. and seeing a team photo of Greenleys, who were the greatest team on planet Earth for many years. I mean,
I still say, up and even right now, the Greenleys team in their pomp could have given the Dons a go.
Well, they could and should have
I'm
been
not joking.
the representative club of Milton Keynes.
Yeah.
Milton Keynes City at the
Well,
time
they won
was
the
a boys'
National
club.
Cup a couple of times. They were.
And
We're
they
not
were
talking about just winning.
phenomenal.
You just know, Tony, that there's a whole load of guys who listen to this from the SW19 area and they're standing shouting, well, why didn't you put your money behind them then?
Oh, fuck off, you bunch of turds. So, that side of things, and this is why tonight is a good this might be like the intro to the Lee interview, maybe later on down the line in the summer. We get the whole thing out. We record a 3-day podcast. That's then led you on to the Freddie Barretti stuff. Just for those that don't know and haven't seen the film or read about it or don't know who Freddie Barretti is, give us a synopsis of his life and death, if you can.
Yeah, well, Freddie Barretti, or Fred Barrett, as he was known, he moved from North London at the age of 14 to Wadham Way, and he became David Bowie's very close friend, and he was his fashion designer,
costumier,
and he basically created the Old Grey Whistle Ziggy Stardust suit and the Ziggy Stardust suit of Top of the Pops and the Life on Mars Ice Blue suit, and was very, very extremely influential in being part of a team of people that was that beginning sort of career, that part of Hunky Dory through to Aladdin Sane, actually right up through to sort of Diamond Dogs. And it's just like I got told the story in the 80s that by a great friend of mine, a local legend called Wixie, a Hammond organ player, that did you know a bloke from Bletchley designed Ziggy Stardust? I mean, yeah, mate, just completely ignored it. But it did sort of go bing and hang in there, and I always promised myself years down the line I would investigate that claim, shall we say. And then it wasn't until I watched Ziggy Stardust, the BBC 4 documentary, and there was about an hour documentary. There was about 5 to 10 minutes on Freddie Barretti, and then I sat there and went, "Oh my God, he wasn't bullshitting after all." And then I found his brother still lived in Wadham Way, and then the more I delved into the story, the better the myth became. And he was just a fascinating character. He was a homosexual living in Bletchley in the 60s, which must have been extremely difficult. So I think and
that's basically why he
too
left,
disparaging of Bletchley, but I think it'd still be quite difficult to be openly gay in Bletchley at its present day.
Most likely, yeah.
That's true. And to be Harry was then, and then I say he was a fantastic. I didn't know at the time he was a dancer. It was the reason he made clothes, because he was the ultimate mod. He was really into the ethos of an original mod. We're talking like the Italian mods, not the Parker mods. Like the guys who wanted to wear the best suits, the best clothes, the best shoes. And when you were the art of modernism, or being a mod, the real ace faces could dance. And that's what he wanted to do, and he lived to dance, and he made the clothes to look good on the dance floor. So that was the whole reason of. He used to go to Burns, get a suit, completely unstitch it, then restitch it, so everything was bespoke. And it was that kind of styling that attracted David Bowie, because David Bowie, if you know your history of David Bowie, he was a mod as well, and they met at a nightclub where Freddie was part of the sort of cabaret, to say, because he was such a good dancer. People would ask when he was on, and they would come in, the night would be packed, and they would just wait for him to go on the dance floor. So he was, and then David Bowie's looking at him and thinking, who is this kid? He's like amazing. David Bowie was not full of confidence at the time. He'd been a one-hit wonder. He decided to take Freddie into a recording studio, which is called the Arnold Corns Project, and he records "Hang On to Yourself" and "Moon Age Daydream," and tries to make him a pop star from above, like pulling the strings. And then Freddie couldn't really sing, and then a penny dropped, thinking, actually, I'll pull the strings, but I'll pull them from within. And that's how sort of influential, if you watch the film, that's how influential Freddie was in part of the creation of Ziggy Stardust. And it's become a bit of an obsession. Done the film, and then I wrote a sort of screenplay, and then turned it into a musical. Used a few of David Bowie's songs in the musical, but now I'm currently just putting the finished touches to an original music score for the musical to either be staged again. Met some top people, which I'm not going to name drop, but yeah, who are interested in the project. So it's been really exciting and really fulfilling, and I'm really into it. And
We think we've done well
story.
getting an interview with Russell Martin, Tony.
Yeah, I'll tell you now, mate. we could literally do 3-4 hours just on.
But the Milton Keynes film, all I say on that is, and the book, I just want to write it and show it like it was, because you read a lot of books about Milton Keynes from hooray Henrys who don't know Milton Keynes from their arse, and they try and put it over. You've seen some documentaries more recently, you know. It's like, no mate, it wasn't like that. So I just thought I'd do it, warts and all, and and tried to put a bit of humour in it and made it very personal. I was absolutely gobsmacked that Curly Wurlies was, sold as many as it sold. I mean, we're not talking thousands, well, actually a few thousand, but not stupid amounts. But it was just very a personal account, just so someone could pick it up in 50 years' time. Go, that's how it was.
Yeah.
It's why I did it. It's been emotional. The first year of the Dons.
Yes, I've got
I just thought, well, someone's got to write a book. How great would it be to read a book of Wolverton's first year in 1881 playing Chelsea's and talking about the pies they ate or the trains they got. Not just the games.
Well, you were,
so that's why that's what sort of drives me. It's not. There's a bit of ego in it. There's always a bit of ego in everything you do in life, but it's really there needs to be a book on.
Is
this,
that the book where?
It's a square book.
Yeah, where Martin Allen is.
Yeah,
he's Brentford manager.
Yes.
And he scares the shit out of you. Remember that?
Christ, yeah, absolutely.
He gives you the death
He didn't
stare.
stop there. He scared the shit out of me when he arrived as well. Yeah. But actually, he's one of the genuine managers who still says hello to me. Actually, some of them just complain you, but that's why I did Curly Wurlies that, and then I thought the film as well. Let's just. I mean, what I found out while doing the book, that no one, the guy at the City Discovery Centre and the Living Archive Centre, he just tapped me on the shoulder. He said, do you know anything about filming? And I said, well, not really. Why? He said, we've got no film. We've got no interviews, no films or anything of these people who built the city. And I thought, oh, okay. Like, wow, that's wrong. So the Derek Walkers, he's the chief architect who basically designed what we're living in. No one had actually stuck a camera in front of him to get an interview with him. And my interview with him is still the only one.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was more of that importance, and then throw a film together. I'm not going to be around in that time, but I think Curly's will be, in 50 years' time, people will really enjoy it. At the moment, it's just telling you what it was last week in time.
It does need to be done, and I don't think. I think if you hadn't have done it, I mean, it's a while ago now, isn't it?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, so
10 years, really?
10 years ago.
When did you have that radio show on a Sunday morning then? Was that 10? That wasn't 10.
No, they've been showing it. They've been showing it every other year or something.
Yeah. So that needed to be done, and it just, I'm the biggest critic of Milton Keynes citizens and their apathy towards Milton Keynes, because the generation that started here weren't from Milton Keynes, so they really. I mean, my dad's lived there for 40. How old am I, John?
I don't know, Tony.
I don't know. My dad's lived there for 45 years. But he still classes himself as a London boy, and he always will, because he moved there when he was 20, whatever. Whereas
if people ask me where I'm from, I always say to them, "What do you mean where I live now or where I'm from?" So I guess
so there's a difference. But then, as that's come through, me and Lee have had a few arguments about culture of Milton Keynes and sport. Music mainly, we've got a massive disagreement been ongoing for the last 5 years about music culture in Milton Keynes. No, I mean, I would imagine that our music tastes, as with yours, there are certain crossovers and there's certain places where neither of us will touch anything to do with the other. But yeah, it's really important, because although the city is only 50 years old, it needs to be documented, and someone's got to do it.
Yeah. And it was a remarkable period that now is over. It is over. Actually, when I was making it, it didn't feel like it was over. Now it's completely over.
The city's
it's
changed.
becoming Londonised, which I think is a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think cities have to change. It's facing, Milton Keynes has got some massive, big issues to sort out, and they're the actual issues of what happened in that period, as in the film. The Connie Boroughs, the Fishermaids, the Bean Hills, the Netherfields, the Fuller Slades, they're all facing massive problems.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not knocking them. They've got massive problems.
They're not being knocked down for a start now anymore.
No, they've got regeneration.
The leader of the council came on, didn't he, to Scriven on Sunday, And he told me face to face, as close as we are now, Tony, I'm going to knock your house down and give you a new one, mate. Don't you worry about his house.
Nice.
Don't you worry about it.
Nice.
In a couple of years,
he didn't think it through.
Sounds like a nice
it cost him £6 million for a start.
My brother lives on Netherfield, and he was really worried because how can you do a compulsory purchase? Because you compulsory purchase that house, and you can't buy a house anywhere else in Milton Keynes.
Yeah. My biggest problem.
So you can't do it. That's what I'm saying about the problems they got are massive. But I hope they address them, and it could be another golden era in Milton Keynes. But it is definitely the point I made. There's definitely that chapter is over, and that's what I like about the film. As in, someone in 20 years' time has just moved here this year ago. You are joking. Yeah. That didn't happen here. Yeah. That couldn't happen here.
And did Netherfield really look like that?
Yeah.
Did it win architectural awards?
That's when that film will bite. That's when it'll bite.
I mean, the city's changed beyond all recognition. Like, we've been here since '87. It's changed beyond all recognition. But before we move on, like, and you're talking about houses, like, my biggest problem at the minute is my son. He's 27 next year. He's born and bred. He is. Not next year, next week, actually. He's born and bred in Milton Keynes, my lad. He's Milton Keynes dons through and through. He doesn't follow any other teams. He's a Milton Keynes lad, but he cannot even afford to buy a house here. That's my biggest problem at the minute. Is just, like, we're sat in Stony Stratford at the minute, and we're slowly being surrounded, by estates, and it's just... I mean, if people have got to live somewhere, I just wish it was somewhere else, to be quite honest.
Well, that's the other thing, the film... pointedly makes, as in we had a government that built a city for rent, low rent, cheap rent. Why is that? I still ask, why has that stopped? As you are now. Well, I don't know. Why has it stopped? I don't know. Everyone's still paying their taxes.
You really don't want to know how much my rent is a week.
No, don't tell me. I mean, I know. I mean, my daughters are renting and whatever, and we're all in the same boat.
No, I mean, mine's the complete opposite.
Oh, is it? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mine's not even triple figures a week.
What, £10?
It's not far off. Yeah.
Anyway, so, move on
there you go. So
that
is definitely one for the future. Maybe a summer interview where we sit in a pub garden or something.
Sorry if I've rattled on.
No, that's what you're here for.
We need this to be different every week.
People need to know these things, and they,
these people that listen to this,
be interested in Milton Keynes.
You should be interested in your
city.
Don't.
And if there's one thing the club has done, is actually brought
without a doubt
people together, and I think.
You've made lifelong friends, haven't you, before in that
music,
club,
With music, you can meet new people, but they're like-minded. But football is almost universal. And one team can bring so many different people together. I wouldn't know half the people I know. I would have had the last sort of nearly 10 years.
You wouldn't know Dan McCallum.
I wouldn't know Dan McCallum. Text me earlier. He's doing the quiz at MK Snap. MK Snap charity quiz, 20th of March, by the way. Have a look on Facebook. I think it's £8 or £12. Anyway, get fish and chips and a quiz and a Dan McCallum quiz, and they're really fucking good.
This could be the longest podcast.
It could well be. Right, Willie Gray's gloves.
Willie Gray's gloves. Right. Explain what it is again, Tony, for people that don't know.
So we've got a pair of Willie Gray's gloves. Next,
right?
Hildy gave me a pair of Willie Gray's gloves, match worn, as you'll see from the state of them and the smell.
Take a picture of them and put them on the
they've
Facebook
also got. Is it Will?
Will.
They got Will on it,
and they are
clearly. As big as his hands are, William was too big.
And it is from the promotion season.
And from the promotion season, as verified by Hildy himself. So we got a pair of those gloves. We've been trying to come up with a question for weeks
now. And I've got one.
And John's got one, and they're usually a belter. I've not heard this yet.
Right, here we go. I'm going to give you a list of football clubs.
Yeah.
And I would like you to give me a name.
Yeah.
After each club, and I'd like you to give me the reason for those names.
Right,
it'll make more sense when I say the names. Now, I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The last football club in this list is going to give it away. So if you can't get it by
hold it back from till next week then, or the week after, like we did with the Clue a Week thing.
So here are the football clubs, and after each club, you've got to give me someone's name.
Yeah.
And I want the reason for those names.
Right. Okay. Right. And the names are all different, are they?
Yes, all different names.
But the reason is the same.
Having said that, if I say this, it will give it away.
Right, well, don't say it then. Don't say it. Oh, you can cut it out for my benefit anyway.
One of the names is the same name.
What, as in the same
person? Yeah.
Right, okay.
That's giving it away.
Right, okay.
Right, ready?
Yeah.
First one, Hartlepool United.
Yeah.
Leicester City.
Yeah.
Blackburn Rovers.
Yeah.
West Bromwich Albion.
Yeah.
Notts County.
Yeah.
Charlton Athletic.
Yeah.
And the last one, Dundee United.
Ah, right, okay.
Got it now?
Yeah. So there you go, there's the question.
So we've just answered that
we've
question.
just answered that. We had a long
out.
discussion about it. It was going to be cut out. So we think, or I think, and I am the worst at quizzes,
Yeah,
especially when
easy
it comes
quiz.
to the Dons.
It's an easy one, that.
We know people who can tell you what the score was in 2006 on
Yeah, we're
Saturday the
particularly bad at
18th
it,
of March
aren't we?
or whatever. Yeah.
Like someone told me, like last week, that thing we'd said about Ipswich, it was actually Tiz that was manager when we played him and not Russell Martin. He didn't pick it up.
Russell Martin did. He actually said to us, but it was a good way to lose. Oh, we lost it the right way. Oh, he's fucking useless. Get rid of him. Sack him.
Right, well, I've had one email, Tony. It's quite a long one. I don't know if you want to read it out.
Have we? We must have got that quite late.
Yeah, it
I
came
looked
quite late.
Uh,
While he's doing that, we've been pestered this week to take advertising for this
yeah.
constantly. I don't want to do it because I think it will compromise us and I don't think it will be financially worth it. But if anyone's listening and has an opinion on it, I'd like to know what you think, because I listen to some podcasts that have got advertising in them, and quite literally there are some of them where they just drop it in the middle of a sentence. Now, there's an advert and then it just carries on. So
this is adverts whilst the podcast is played.
in the middle of it, yeah.
Like when you're watching a YouTube
Oh,
video.
here's buy the Guardian or whatever.
Yeah.
Or don't buy the Mail or something like that. That kind
We
of
don't
thing.
really want that.
So I'm not for it.
And let's be honest, John doesn't need the money.
No, I don't. I'm well off.
Yeah, he's a very wealthy man.
I've sold a load of mugs last week. I'm rolling in cash.
He's a pound up. He's a pound up. Thanks for the Talbot Trio for the pound.
A whole pound
extra
profit.
It's our mate Jonathan. He says, "Afternoon, guys. First of all, I'd like to say it was a fantastic pod last week.
It was, Tone.
It sounded quite a relaxed interview, but at the same time, you could hear that Martin believes in the way he wants to play. Special mention to Maya. Also, her interview was fantastic, which it was.
It was good.
I haven't heard the MKFM one yet, or what was the other one?
They done four things, didn't they?
4 things, yeah. Anyway,
I was only interested in ours, Tony.
Even though I've only seen 2 of them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in the end, I was unable to attend Portsmouth and do the match report.
I was going to do as a match report,
as work plans had changed. From listening last night and the comments from the opposition, it's great that we've been competitive in almost, if not all, every game since Martin has taken over. Our home form is brilliant, and it's nice travelling to Stadium MK feeling like we're going to win. The away form is obviously a concern, having not won since Blackpool. I like the bravery of Martin to play out from the back, and when it works, it's fantastic. I feel teams at the higher end of League One are better equipped for our game in our own backyard, and yesterday was a case in point, in their own backyard, All 3 goals avoidable in their own way. Maybe our decision making isn't quite there, but it's something that the fans will definitely have to get used to. Agree with that, and also shut up if you're moaning about it.
Me? Oh, I'm not saying
Not you personally, I just haven't been pointing that
way.
There appears on social media massive criticism of JMT in particular, that Walsh is more natural in a way to the way we want to play. Whilst I was surprised that Walsh was dropped, Russell might obviously trust the current back 4. That being said, is there anyone in the back 4 you'd swap, drop? I wouldn't swap or drop.
No,
I'd possibly interchange Walsh for JMT, but I don't see any issue with either of them. I think JMT's a better footballer.
He's a better footballer.
Yeah, Joe's a very good footballer, but I think JMT's better.
JMT's better on the ball, I think, personally.
Yeah, and he brings it out from the back more often. Joe does do that as well, but it's also an interesting decision Martin is to make up top, given that the Morris suspension. For me personally, it'd have to be a front 3 of Gladwin, Nombe and Healy. What do you think about that, Lee?
Gladwin?
Yeah, I like Gladwin. I think he's a real player. I think they've got. I've been impressed with the signings they've made. To be fair, the people they've brought in, and did you go to Burton?
No, watched that and watched the stats on that were ridiculous.
No, just that he came on and he just did like a Glenn Hoddle type pass.
Yeah,
it was like 8 yards. And I was looking through the lens and I'm swearing at Ryan Lane. He was like, "What? How did he do that?" And his face was like, "Really?" He still killed it with one touch. Yeah. And then about 3 minutes later, he thought, "Oh, I've done it once. I'll do it again." And then I like Ben Reeves, he turns and he runs towards defences. I think they got a player there.
He could be the signing of next season.
He could
He's been described as a new Keith Andrews.
By whom?
By me.
That's
I've put that out there now. That's public.
That's brave.
I understand that Gladwin hasn't started a game yet, but he's been very impressive in his cameos, and I feel Gives us the final pass with sometimes lack. Keep up the great podders. It's a pod I look forward to at the end of the week. Jonathan. Cheers, Jonathan. Yeah, so he's spot on there about Gladwin. In general, Jonathan usually is. And he's quite objective as well. He doesn't rant and rave.
Nope, that's me.
This is what this pod is all about.
That's a bit.
We might rant and rave, but it will generally be about...
Imagine all those people that listened to last week's now listening
like,
to this.
That'll
be next week's that'll kill them.
What do you mean with great disappointment?
No, I'm just saying.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
You know, we got
I'm so glad I followed Russell Martin. Yeah.
We have had a lot of
I've been
listeners.
putting it off for years. I should have put it off for another year.
We have had a lot of listeners, like,
that's not good timing for me
obviously
at all.
And I'm thinking, like, I was thinking to myself, all these people that download this week, they're going to be so disappointed. But you, obviously, it's next week when it's just me and you talking a load of shit.
Yeah,
it's
that's going to be the major disappointment.
Don't listen to next week's.
2 fantastic guests, 2 weeks in a row, then just again, 2 old blokes in a shed.
2 blokes in a shed.
That's your parents shilling and pence. That's what they log on for, mate.
It is.
That's
to
what
be fair,
they want.
yeah.
I've just got in the way this week.
We want. I mean, I've been trying to organise it, not trying to be organising it with you. It turns out it was like a 2-minute conversation. Mate, do you want to come on Wednesday? Yeah, all right, see you there.
Well, it was just. Remember, there was a good time to come
we have
on,
said,
That's
we
what
have
I
said this.
It's been some difficult times, and when I am, so people know I am freelance, so I'm not actually fully employed by the club. I do work for the club, and it's very awkward, I have feelings just like all the fans and like you guys, and it's you got to be careful what you say, and it's like it's been difficult. It's been difficult over the last 2 or 3 seasons to actually
what it must be like.
Yeah, you want to be honest on a podcast, and what have you, and so this has been a good time, and I think it reflects exactly what we were saying at the beginning of the podcast, in what a good place we find ourselves today. Because football can change in a week, like I'm saying, at this very moment in time. Hence saying why.
It is. I mean, I'd say I don't know what your experience is, but having been to a lot of away grounds and been behind the scenes and see what goes on, it's very, very rare to find any significant number of staff working at a football club that actually supports the football club that you're at, particularly those in the lower leagues. It's very rare. Whereas at Milton Keynes, we've got the media team, Ant and Deck, both
said it last week.
Both.
Well, to be honest, that's been quite important.
Yeah.
I think I didn't like it when other people come in from outside the area. I'm very pro Milton Keynes because you have to know Milton Keynes to know how to work with Pete and the board. And, no, you don't.
That's a Freudian slip right there.
No, you do have to know that, and so I think if you had some former press officers who have come from outside the city, I think they'd be honest and say it was difficult to get into the mindset of what the club is about. And you do want, if anybody comes to a job and they say they support the Dons, it's great, right? You're in a way, because you want them to be hurting. Yeah. What's the worst in the world is when you've had a terrible defeat, and like if you go in and someone's going, "Oh, morning," as in, that was a shame, wasn't it?
No,
it wasn't a shame. It was fucking diabolical. So you want that. You want that passion.
More than once. Oh, is there a game on Saturday?
There's
a game every fucking Saturday somewhere.
Yeah, it's like, so you do want people in there, and it is a bonus. And I always say, if you get the club right off the pitch, it will get right on it. And I'm a great believer in that. And that's a bit of luck and judgment and personalities who come in, who gel. But if you can get it harmonious off the pitch, it makes life a lot easier. And again, Russell's timing's been good because it is good off the pitch at the moment. I know there's a lot of things
really quickly, isn't it?
At the stadium, and it's my favourite explosion point at the Dons is when I get told by hotel staff, if it wasn't for the hotel, the football club wouldn't be here.
Oh,
that's one that's always one of my favourites. But they may have a point, because without them and without the arena, you do have to. I think we've all come to terms that we are part of it, and we have got to learn it. But there's still that sort of element in between.
It's very much them and us, we just have to.
It's quite unique because.
Right, I think we'll better wrap it up.
Finish, sorry guys.
So we do our quick prediction.
Predictions, go on.
Saturday, John.
I reckon if we got anything out of that whatsoever, I think that's a great result for us. But I'll be blunt with you, I'm not confident.
No score?
I'd be happy with a no score.
Right, I'll do. Lee?
2-2.
2-2. I'm liking that. I'm going 2-0, of course. To us. I should point out. So, if you do want a mug, a few people mentioned it on Saturday. If you do want a mug, don't put it on the forums, don't put it on Twitter. Email mkdonsradioshow@gmail.com. Otherwise, we don't have the Our admin staff are off for a while, forever, in fact. So the only way, and we only check that at 5 to 8 on a Wednesday, the email.
Night.
So that's the way to get your mug if you want to order one.
Yeah.
And again, if we get enough orders, John will...
I'm going to do another run, but you do need to email me because it genuinely is the only way I can keep track, like where the mugs are going. So
yeah.
And they are good quality mugs, Tom. I've said it before, I'll say it again.
There were a lot of impressed faces in Club Red on Saturday, I can tell
mugs,
you. Yeah, I had to destroy 2 boxes. How hard were they to get in, by the way, the boxes?
Extremely difficult.
Fucking hell, it's like the Krypton Factor.
No, I mean, I physically got stopped. They weren't going to let me into the stadium.
Oh, I went round the back way, so I didn't have to go through the front doors and get searched. Should have said that, but...
Yeah. In the end up, I said, I'll be honest with you, mate. I said, I'm fast approaching 60. I've got some mugs and some cardboard boxes. I mean, if you want to keep them... I'll pick them up
and
in the
if
way.
you think I'm going to reach the away end,
I'm genuinely
from the cowshed with one of these.
I mean, they were all right. They goes, can you not give them to them after the games? I said, not really. I said, but if you want to, I said, I ain't bothered, mate. I said, take them, don't take them. I said, and then he ended up, he goes, just go in.
I just went in breezy, all breezy, cheery wave.
Marshalls,
there you go.
Big Marsh.
It throws them off, you see. If you don't look like you've got a great big bag full of coffee mugs, and you just be a bit breezy, mate. That's what it. Or go down the back way, so you don't have to go through security.
No, they were all right. I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with the stewards at Milton Keynes. They're better than good. So there we go. Right,
anyway,
so
that's it.
That was the longest podcast we've ever done.
It would be. It was great. I loved it. mkdoddsradioshow@gmail.com. Anything to say?
I'd like a mug.
Ad hoc.
I'd like a mug.
I'd like a mug.
Stop.
And I think I want to go back to the... Send us your dad jokes, because I was reading a load of dad jokes today.
No, I don't send dad jokes. Don't do that.
I was sat there.
No, don't, Tone.
My wife was there, me and wife, and I was staring out the window and going, look at that old miserable and fucking grey out there. And she went, will you shut up and just go and let me mum in?
I'm here all week.
My mother-in-law's so fucking fat. Right, that's us.
Right, we'll see you next week.